Anybody that isn't here will get to see this, but you guys can also can watch it again if you need to. Would anybody out there? Let me see. Brendan or David or Sean, could you just tell me in the Q&A window or in the chat window, rather somewhere that you guys can see me? Yeah, so not see me, see my screen and hear my voice. Just want to make sure we're good. Perfect. Thank you guys so much. All right. I always like to do that. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about customer success. I'm going to talk at you for some amount of time, probably about 45 minutes max, and then hopefully about 40 minutes because I want to give us some time for Q&A. If you're going to be involved in the workshop in Dublin, this is the level setting sort of backdrop for that, so we can hit the ground running. If you're not going to be joining us, that's okay. This is definitely going to be something that'll be valuable to you as just a standalone thing. This will give you at least my idea of what customer success is. I always tell people you don't have to agree with me. You just at least now know where I'm coming from. So customer success is the topic of the day, but I want you to think about customer success and we'll get into this in a lot more detail, but I want you to think about customer success this way. It is a growth driver. So you'll note something that if you've seen other people talk about customer success, if you read about it, if you've heard about it, very often you get it presented in a way that's not negative, but it's about negative things. It's about churn, customers leaving. Customer success is about keeping customers from leaving, and that's true. But churn is a symptom of bad customer success, right? So you're not actually doing customer success very well. So your customers are churning. Once you start implementing customer success, or if you're building your company from the ground up and you build customer success into your operating model, that's basically how you do this, how you build your business. Churn is not an issue. So once churn is taken care of, or if you don't have it from the beginning, then what's the focus? The focus is growth. So I want you to think about customer success from that standpoint as we get started here. My name is Lincoln Murphy, and again, I'm really happy to be joining you guys. I'm a growth architect with Winning by Design, and we focus on sales and also growth within an account. And that's why I wanted to sort of set it up as, customer success is really just part of a growth strategy, right? And so that's the way that I like to approach these things. What I want to do first is tell you what customer success is not. And I think this is really critical for you guys to understand, just so that we kind of get these things out of the way. First of all, a guy screaming at his computer. What is he going to do? He's going to call support, right? That's what support is for. Support is for reactive, sort of break, fix types of situations. That's great. Support is absolutely required. We have to have it. It is not customer success. Customer success is not support. Support really is, we could say it's part of an overall customer success strategy. It certainly should roll up into how you determine whether a customer is healthy or whether they're on a positive success vector. If they're contacting support a lot and their tickets are not being resolved, then we know that there's potentially an issue, right? That's not a good thing. If they're contacting support because they can't actually make progress because the product is broken for them, then that's going to be a problem. But if a customer is contacting support and their issues are being resolved in a timely fashion and that, everything's cool, then it's fine. But we need to know that in customer success. We need to be able to know what's going on with support, but we have to know that customer success is not support. Okay, so it's not support 2.0. It's not a fancy term for support. it's something else, and we'll get to what it is. But I wanted to clarify that because that sometimes can cloud our thinking around customer success. The other thing is customer success is not about making customers happy. Now, if you've read anything I've written, I've alluded to that a number of times. I even wrote a post that was all about that, which basically says customer success. We're not here to solve for happiness. And the thing is, look, at a human level, I want you to be happy. I want the people that I work with and the people that I'm around to be emotionally happy. But as a business, I can't solve for your happiness, right? Especially in a B2B world. I mean, maybe if you have I don't know, like a Velcro trampoline business and people are jumping around, having fun and sticking to the wall. That's cool. That could be fun. Maybe I can solve for your happiness. If we're in a B2B scenario and I'm an accounting package, I don't think I can actually, solve for your happiness, but I can certainly solve for your success. So customer success is all about making our customers successful. We're going to talk about exactly what quote unquote successful means, but we have to know that it's not about customer happiness. In fact, I like to take it a step further and say we kind of need to get away from, in the customer success world, we need to get away from the talking about things in terms of happiness or customer delight. And the reason we need to do that is those are not incredibly valuable to the board, to investors, to executives, right? These are not, and then the reason they're not valuable is that they don't really, they're hard to measure. They're hard to measure in a way that actually matters in terms of the financial performance of a company. I mean, we can go out and do some sentiment analysis, or we can do an NPS survey, and maybe that'll give us some intel. But at the end of the day, what does that actually mean when it comes to the bottom line or the top line of the company? And that's why I say we need to get away from some of those types of metrics. So try not to say too much about customer happiness or customer delight, things like that. And let's focus on making the customer successful and making the customer, helping the customer achieve their desired outcome. Now, that's sort of one reason why we don't want to talk about customer happiness. The other is that we can't solve for their happiness. But on the not solving for their happiness side, there's another piece to it. And I sort of alluded to this in the when I was talking about support. Sometimes, and if you guys have, are just starting out and you haven't experienced this yet, you absolutely will. There are going to be some customers that just never seem happy, right? They're just always pushing back. They're always contacting support, right? We say that's okay, but man, they're really contacting support a lot. Maybe something's going on here. Their tickets are being resolved though, so it's cool. They complain. They are always asking for more. But when you look at all of the context, you see actually these are the customers that seem the least happy, but man, they're actually the most successful. They're the ones that are actually buying more, they're staying longer, and they're actually advocating for us with their peers and with other people that maybe we ask them to give us a reference. The reason that they don't seem happy is because they're never content. They're always trying new things. They're contacting support because they're pushing the envelope. They're trying to, they're breaking things. They're not trying to break it necessarily, but they're actually they're successful. They're not happy. On the flip side, happy customers churn all the time. They'll look right at you, and say that they're happy, and then they leave. Right? So happiness is really, again, I want everybody I work with and everybody that I'm around to be happy. But if they're not, that's okay. I can't solve for that. But if they are not successful, you will end up with no customers, right? If your customers are not successful, they will leave, and we don't want that. We don't want them to leave, but we certainly want them to stick around longer. We want them to buy more. You are also, so customer success is not support. It is not about making customers happy. It is also not about saving customers. Now, if you wake up in the morning and you get in a helicopter and you go out and jump in the ocean and save people from drowning, you are a hero. You're awesome. You're better than I am. That's a fact. you're doing amazing things. If you wake up in the morning, roll out of bed, get on your computer, and try to save customers from churning, you may feel like a hero, but you're not. You're actually working for a company, or you're building a company that's doing everything wrong. So that's not customer success. Customer success is not saving customers from leaving. It is, if you need to save customers, you might beg, borrow, steal, and make concessions, and make promises, whatever you got to do to keep them. But that's not customer success. So using this rescue scenario on the screen, what customer success is in this scenario would be, we taught them how to swim. Actually, even more so, we told them, even though this was their vacation, we told them the seas are too rough, the weather's too bad, don't go out there or you will drown. Right? So we didn't even let them get to this point. And we did it in a way that, no, it didn't make them happy. They were disappointed. But we saved their life. And that's the thing that we have to understand. Customer success is about pushing your customers sometimes into places that are not comfortable in order to get them to that desired outcome. Was the ultimate desired outcome of their trip to not go swimming? Not necessarily, but probably living was. So we have to be careful with some of these analogies. But the thing is, we're not here to save our customers. The other thing is, we're all in this together. So customer success is one of those things where we have an operationalized customer success organization, and we have a department or whatever, and we'll get into that a lot more in sort of in the workshop. We're not going to cover organizational dynamics today, but we will in the workshop. But everything we're going to talk about today is the foundation for that. But regardless of your org structure, and regardless of how customer success as a department sort of fits into your overall company, the thing is, just because there's an operationalized customer success management practice doesn't mean that they're the only ones that are in charge of this stuff. And really, customer success, more than a lot of other functions in the company, is cross-functional in nature. If you have a customer success organization that's all about helping the customers be successful and helping them achieve their desired outcome, but everybody else is sort of going in their own direction, other parts of the organization are focused on other things, and aren't really doing the right things to that should lead a customer to achieving their desired outcome, your customer success department will probably fail because they can't do it all alone, right? If sales is bringing in the wrong fit customer, if product is making crappy products or building features customers don't need, whatever that is, and, if you take all of that and you try to bolt on customer success, it's not going to, you may not fail as a company, but you probably won't get the results you're really looking for. And from my point of view, we don't want to be average or just sort of mediocre, right? We want to really thrive. So to do that, and this is why it's so awesome, I love talking to early stage companies, because this needs to be part of your company. This needs to be part of your DNA. This needs to be your operating model. Customer success needs to be the operating philosophy, right? That we're all in this together to help our customers achieve their desired outcome. Yes, we have an operationalized customer success management organization, but they're just one part of this overall thing that we're building. So we'll get into that in a lot more detail, but just think about that. Really understand that this is a company-wide initiative. So Peter Drucker famously said, "The purpose of business is to create and keep a customer." You guys may have seen that quote. If you're a fan of business or have studied business, this is something that you'll see a lot. The thing is, what's interesting, a lot of times when you see this quote, it's missing that last part, and keep a customer. It's usually just the part about the purpose of business is to create a customer. And I always find that interesting. The reality is the purpose of business is to create a customer, to keep them longer, to get them to pay more, and ultimately to become an advocate. But Drucker didn't say all of that. But I always like to put this out there because I think it's a good thing to kind of keep in the back of our mind. It's a sanity check against a sales driven organization. Yes, the initial sale is absolutely critical, right? We have to get a customer in the front door. But, if a customer stays 5 years, and that's not, I mean, that's total reality. Customers are staying at least 5, 6 years, with B2B companies. But if a customer is going to stay 3, 5, 7, 10 years, I mean, we need to be thinking about things beyond that initial sale. And for easy math, if they stay 5 years, and let's say they sign a 1-year contract each time, and let's say they don't spend any more each year over that 5-year period, so they pay the same. Just the easy math says on that 5-year period, the first year, that initial sale is only worth 20% of the overall customer lifetime value, right? I mean, that's simple. Now, if they end up paying, buying more over time and expanding their use, then maybe they stay, another year or two. We're able to extend that customer lifetime. Then all of a sudden, that initial sale, that first year, starts looking more like 3% of the overall customer lifetime value. So not to downplay the fact that initial sales are very important, but it's just the tip of the iceberg. It is just one part of it. So we have to get away from this sales-oriented culture and understand that we have a massive opportunity after that initial sale. So, I mean, I'd like to even get away from saying post-sales, because it doesn't make sense that, when a customer stays 5 years, that entire 5-year period is post-sales. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so the purpose of business is to create and keep a customer. My definition of customer success. So this is where we start to get into the, we're getting into this now. So we kind of got through what customer success is not. Gave you a quote, but this is my quote, and this is my definition of customer success. And I want you guys to pay close attention. And you look on the screen here. Customer success is when customers achieve their desired outcome through interactions with your company. Okay. Now, there's a couple things we need to unpack here. One is desired outcome, and we'll talk about that in a second. The other is interactions. So the customer success is evolving. It still is. It's definitely evolved over the last few years. I've evolved with it. One of the things that I used to say was customer success is when customers achieve their desired outcome through their use of your product. And I realized that's wrong. It's not just about the product. It's really about all of their interactions with your company. When you think about customer success and you think about your customer's desired outcome, and we'll talk about that again in just a second, you think about all the things that they have to do to be successful, and all the interactions that they're going to have with your company, you realize customer success actually starts really early. It starts with their first interaction with your sales team or with your marketing collateral, right? The first time they interact with that, customer success has started. Are you helping them achieve their desired outcome? And then it's okay. So you go through the sales cycle, and then how do they want to buy? Do they want to buy on a contract? Do they want to pay online with a credit card? It's making sure that we're aligning with that. It's ensuring that the onboarding process is good, and that ultimately we get them to become engaged, and just all of these interactions. Some of it obviously is with the product, but then there's the training and the online help and the different community support and this and that, whatever, all the different interactions with your company. So it really kind of paints a better picture, I think, to say that this has to be something that we realize is across all the interactions. And it also goes back to the thing I said earlier, which is, we're all in this together, right? Everybody in the company that touches a customer impacts their ability to achieve their desired outcome. Okay, so what is desired outcome? Desired outcome is made up of two pieces. One is the required outcome, and there's a plus sign and the equal sign on the screen. It looks pretty pretty light on my screen. I'll have to darken that. But basically, required outcome plus appropriate experience equals desired outcome. So I actually need to, just if you will bear with me, I need to fix that. I was trying to fancy this up for you guys, make it look a little better. All right, so required outcome plus appropriate experience equals desired outcome. What is required outcome? So I'll give you guys this example. Let's say, so required outcome is basically whatever you need to achieve. It could be, we could say it's the job to be done. It's the thing that your customers absolutely have to do, okay? The thing is, they could probably do that thing in lots of different ways. They could use your product. They could use a competitor's product. They could write their own. They could use an open source product. They could hire somebody to do that work manually. They could outsource it to an agency, right? And there's probably lots of other ways that they could do it. So we have to understand that the required outcome is just that. It's simply the thing that they need to achieve. And it's not necessarily just the thing that they need to do. It's really, the result of that thing that they need to do. The appropriate experience part is where it gets really interesting, because essentially, if they've decided to do business with you or are looking at your product, they've already started down this appropriate experience path by saying, I want to solve this problem, or I want to take advantage of this opportunity that is my required outcome through the use of a software product. And specifically, I want it to be online, right? So I want to do a SaaS product. Like that's part of so the appropriate experience is already coming into play there. But there's even more to it. So the example I always like to give is that of an address verification service. Okay, so a mailing address. If you are selling this product, so the required outcome is that I am able to validate this email or validate this physical mailing address, so I can send whatever it is I need to send to the recipient. So if you are selling this technology to early stage startups, to technology folks in general, you could probably get away with an API where you simply send in the address and get the return validated address. You could probably have a self-service sign up to get the API key. You could probably have a Slack channel for community support, and maybe some lightweight documentation. Okay, that's because you're selling it to early stage startups and or technology folks in general. On the other hand, if you're selling that very same required outcome to a Fortune 500 company, a department within a Fortune 500 company with business users, you're probably going to need a full-blown UI. You're going to need online help. You're going to need official training. You're going to need 24-hour phone support. You're going to need to be able to support a 3-year contract. You're going to have all of these other things that come into play, and that's the thing. If we just look at the product, even in that scenario, the product is going to be different, right? API versus full-blown UI. But there's other things going on that are going to lead the customer to their desired outcome because it's the appropriate experience for them. If you understand that and you make this technology that we're talking about that validates physical mailing addresses, then you may end up selling that product to both of those types of customers. If you didn't understand this idea of desired outcome, you would try to sell the enterprise version to startups and technology folks, and they wouldn't want it. Or you would try to sell the API version to the enterprise folks, and they wouldn't want it. And you would get confused. Why is this not working? The technology is the same, because the appropriate experience for those two different customer segments is very, very different. Okay, so this is so fundamental, and it's one of those things that as soon as I figured it out, I realized how game changing it is. But I also realized how simple it is, and it's interesting that we often overlook this, but we do. So I hope that makes sense. certainly we can, as we go through this, you guys will, if you have questions, we can get through it at the end. But required outcome plus appropriate experience equals desired outcome. And this one key concept of desired outcome is what customer success, ultimately, what customer success is all about. If we help our customers achieve their desired outcome, we're going to have customers that are not only achieving that required outcome, but they feel successful in the process. And that's what we really want. We want our customers to do that, because customers that have achieved that desired outcome with the appropriate experience, they're the ones that are going to stick around and buy more and tell everybody that they know. If you achieve your required outcome, but don't do it with an appropriate experience, even though you achieve that required outcome, you may still feel unsuccessful. I always use commercial air travel as an example when I'm talking to sort of broader audiences about this concept. And in the U.S. and in Europe, we're lucky. We have very safe commercial airline industry. And I'm not familiar with all of the airlines in Europe, so I'll use the ones that are here in the U.S. But I always say Southwest is the kind of low fare carrier here, no frills, no assigned seating, no Wi-Fi on the planes, super tiny seats with no room to work. Like if I decide to travel, and I travel a lot, my required outcome is that, honestly, my required outcome is that you get me from point A to point B safely and quickly. Right? That's my required outcome. I need to get from point A to point B safely and quickly, which means my appropriate experience starts to come in very quickly, because I'm going to choose air travel. Right? That's the only way to really go someplace quickly and safely, at least in the US. So air travel becomes the option. Now, the appropriate experience for me, though, because I travel so much, is I have room to work. I know where I'm going to sit. I know that there will be Wi-Fi on the plane, that, and hopefully it works most of the time. I know that there's these things, because I travel so much, I can't have those 2 or 3 hours of downtime, just to fly somewhere. I am actually more productive on the plane than I am anywhere else. So sometimes I have to fly Southwest, though, just, because circumstances are what they are. And I know that they have helped me achieve my required outcome, because I get from point A to point B safely. But you know how I know this? Because I'm walking off the plane alive and swearing and saying terrible things, because it was the most horrible experience. And I mean, every time I fly Southwest, and I try not to, we try to avoid each other, because I'm not their ideal customer either. It's awful. They help me achieve that required outcome, but I never feel successful. I never feel like that was good. So, that the appropriate experience is wrong. So I do what I can to fly American Airlines or Virgin America or something. And so if, this analogy starts to break down when we start talking about software products, because it's not so transient. We don't have customers moving from one brand to another like that. But the lesson still applies. You can help your customers achieve their required outcome. You can have a great functional product, but if the appropriate experience, the entire experience, is not appropriate for the customer, they will not be successful. You did not help them achieve their desired outcome, and they will leave. And if they don't leave immediately, they certainly won't be looking for ways to expand their use of your product and expand their relationship with you. So that's the importance of this. All right. As a business, our purpose is to, well, it depends on what stage you're in and lots of other things. It may be to make a profit. It may be just to generate revenue. It may be to return some sort of something to our investors at some point in the future. Whatever that is, that's why we're in business from a financial standpoint. But why are we actually in business from a market standpoint? Well, it's really to help our customers achieve their desired outcome. That's it. And that really should be our purpose. That should be the way that we approach everything that we do. So our purpose should be to help our customers achieve their desired outcome, which means customer success is your purpose. If you focus on the desired outcome if customer success really becomes your operating model, your operating philosophy, your purpose, then things like adoption, more, product adoption, retention, keeping your customers, expansion, upsells, cross sells, just renewing at a higher rate, advocacy, having your customers go out and actually advocate for you, tell others, spread the word of mouth, all that stuff. Those things will happen. If we don't focus on desired outcome, and let's say we just focus for this quarter on retention, will we retain customers? Probably. And because we have that number, we're going to do what we have to do. We'll probably hit that number short term. Adoption, expansion, and advocacy may fall by the wayside in the meantime. But we'll probably hit that short term number. Will we hit that short term number in a way that helps those customers that were affected by us hitting that short term number? Will we do that in a way that helps those customers achieve their desired outcome for the long term? Not necessarily, because we're so focused on that one initial goal. If you focus on the customer's desired outcome and operationalize around that, and that's what we're going to talk about in the workshop, then adoption, retention, expansion, and advocacy come from that. That said, let me be really clear. This isn't magic. Just simply helping your customers achieve their desired outcome, which is much easier said than done, right? No, I don't want any misunderstanding here. But if we do that, these things, adoption, retention, expansion, and advocacy, they're just possibilities. They may happen, but we don't want to live in a world where they may happen. We need to operationalize that, which is where customer success management comes in. So I make a distinction between customer success and customer success management. Customer success management is the proactive orchestration of the customer's journey toward their ever-evolving desired outcome. So again, you can tell I like to make up definitions, but trying to get there with definitions that are somewhat easy to understand. There's a couple things in here that I want to unpack. One is proactive orchestration. Fancy words, really just means what is it that our customers have to do and what do we have to do for our customers to ensure that they achieve their desired outcome. That's it. That's what orchestration is, or that's what we make that list and then we say, all right, let's do that, right? So we make a list of everything that our customers have to do and we figure out a way to operationalize that. Now, in what we'll learn in the workshop is we do that on a per product basis. We do that for each customer segment. We say this is the desired outcome of each customer segment, and we create this list of things, and we have joint accountabilities and all this, but we orchestrate that, and we're proactive, meaning nothing is left to chance. I'm not going to let a customer just kind of come in and wander around and hope they buy something at some point, hope they buy more. That's not what this is about. It's about ensuring and doing this in a predictable and scalable way that our customers are going to get out of their relationship with us what they need. And so proactive orchestration is really important. The other part is ever evolving desired outcome. I don't know about you, but I don't want my customers to be the same in a year or 2 years as they are today. If that's the case, then and especially in my world, but I have failed, right? That's really not good. I want my customers to evolve. Well, that means that I need to create a model that takes into consideration that customers evolve. But very often, when we even build out a customer experience or when we even do any of this stuff, we tend to build it around the idea of a static customer. And that's just not reality. So customers evolve, which means, simply maybe at some point a customer needs to move in a new direction. Then we need to know what's going to be the catalyst for that. We need to be on the lookout for that. We need to be able to support them moving in this new direction. Maybe they move up to another pricing tier. They buy this add-on. This is the time that they need to do some internal expansion. They need to bring in another department. Whatever that is, we have to understand that it's evolving, and we have to be prepared for that. I I was at a, where was I? I don't even remember. I was at a conference. Oh, it was a sales and marketing kind of meetup. We had about 30 or 40 people there from probably 20 different companies. It was a VC portfolio company gathering. Sorry about that. Not that that matters, but I couldn't remember where I was. And one of the guys in the room, when we were talking about expansion, stood up and said, and he was so proud. He said, uh, the vast majority of his upsells, he has no idea why they happen. And he was kind of saying that like it's so cool, like so many people buy more with us, and I really don't know why, but that's actually not cool because you can't replicate that. You can't replicate what you don't understand, right? We don't want things to just happen. I mean, that's cool that he's getting upsells, right? That people are buying more, but how do you replicate that? How do you systematize that? How do you create a predictable model around that? And how do you ensure that that doesn't just stop one day, right? And so, I try not to make him feel too bad, but I really wanted to make sure he understood that like that's not necessarily a good thing. So we have to understand what's going on. We have to be able to orchestrate it. So, really knowing what the catalyst is. So if you haven't sensed a theme yet, the theme is we have to really understand our customers. We have to know our customers better than they know themselves, which is kind of, if we think about other relationships we have, really good, strong relationships, we often, we don't just know the other people on the surface. Our friends, our family, we kind of know what else is going on, sort of, underneath, right? That's a relationship. A relationship is both mutually beneficial and and also it's both beneficial, mutually beneficial, but also um, something that we're trying to be successful. They're trying to be successful, and we're in this together. So I say customer success. I kind of wish that customer relationship management (CRM) wasn't already taken, because I think that's actually a better. That's really what customer success is. It's real relationship management. But I just always like to throw that out there. Remember, customer success is everyone's business. So let's talk real quick about creating the ultimate customer success strategy. I'm definitely going to go over the 40-minute mark here, but hopefully this is good. Customer segmentation on a per product basis. I mentioned this earlier. We want to look for the logical customer segments for each product. So if you only have one product, cool. Don't then you'll just do this. You'll just look at the customer segments. If you have multiple products, understand that each product is going to have different customer segments that will buy the product. And each of those customer segments will have a different desired outcome. So there is no one size fits all here. You can't do that. It won't work. And you have different customer segments for each product, meaning, even if you have multiple products, certainly can't have a desired outcome that fits everybody for each product. But even with just one product, you can't have a desired outcome that will fit everybody. And so when I get people asking me questions like, I can't figure out how to come up with a desired outcome, almost every single time it's because they're trying to come up with a blanket one that works for everybody. Okay, so we have to figure out what these customer segments are. And the customer segments are going to be logical segments. A lot of times we want to segment our customers based on revenue. So, the high revenue customers and the low revenue customers, and maybe there's one in the middle. This is what they're paying us. Or maybe we want to do it on revenue potential. So a customer comes in, buys a couple of seats, but they actually have a legitimate potential of 10,000 seats. Well, maybe I want to treat them like they are a 10,000 seat customer, right? Because that's really what they could be. But maybe I want to segment logically in a different way. I want to segment on use case, right? So a customer that has one use case, I'm going to treat them. I'm going to give them the appropriate experience. But a customer that has a different use case, I'm going to give them an appropriate experience. And you can get a little bit more. You can have like a matrix type of model, but let's keep it simple for now and just say, what are some logical segments in your business? for customers, right? So what are some ways that you can segment your customers logically? And then when you do that, again, on a per product basis. But something that you have to understand is that, again, every customer segment for each product is going to have a different desired outcome. Now, there may be a situation where 90% of of what it takes to achieve the desired outcome for each of these customer segments are the same. But what matters is the other stuff that they have to do, or the other stuff that goes into that appropriate experience. That might be different for each customer segment, and it might be different enough that if you try to force one on everybody, you're going to alienate 2/3 of your customer base. So you have to really understand that. So even if there's a lot of overlap in what your customers have to do to achieve that desired outcome, you may still run into issues. So there is no one size fits all desired outcome that works across all customer segments. And just something that I like to throw out there, because it's another one of those little epiphanies that once you realize this, it's pretty interesting. If you have small customers, small medium-sized businesses, that kind of thing, especially on the very small side, the desired outcome for the company is also the desired outcome, is sort of a shared desired outcome with the people that work at the company. In other words, the employees are and founders and whatever are more aligned with the overall desired outcome of the company. So the catalyst that they bought you because they wanted to save money, or whatever, make money, save time. For the company, it's usually make money or save money, right? You can continue to that's what you sold them on, but that same thing is going to be important to them over the customer relationship. The bigger companies, if you're going to save a company money or make them money, that's the initial catalyst that gets them interested. But in the bigger companies, the individual personas, the human beings that work there, they may have their own desired outcome. And so you need to be aware of that you come in because you're going to help the company save money or make money. But once you get in, you may have to do things that help the person that bought the product. We'll call them like your internal champion. Help them make do their job better or make them look good, right? So we have to take that into consideration as well. So if you are doing sort of persona mapping on the not just for marketing purposes, but really internally, make sure you do that after you've done the customer segmentation, because the chief marketing officer at a very early stage startup is going to be very different and have very different desired outcome than the chief marketing officer at a very large company, right? So we have to be really clear on that. We want to create success milestones, which is to say we want to list out. We're going to list out all of the steps required to get a customer to achieve their desired outcome. And then we're going to identify, and you can see on the screen here, we have our required actions. This is what they're going to do. And then we identify, are these, with check marks, are these success milestones? And if they are success milestones, then I'll show you what to do with those in a second. And then we have a couple of columns where we say, we do this for the customer, the product does this, and then what's in the customer responsibility. The customer does this outside the product. We can do this for them, maybe for a fee. We say, is this a potential success gap? We'll talk about that in the workshop. But basically, is there the potential for them to use the product functionally but still not achieve their desired outcome? Yes. Meaningful activity, upsell opportunities. Is there an advocacy ask with this? Basically, we just list out the success milestones for you. For those of you attending the workshop, this will be the pre-work. I want you to go through this process so that you come prepared. And I'll make sure that everybody gets the link to this, though, so you can go through this. I won't spend much time going over this, but basically, everything we're talking about today kind of goes into this one spreadsheet. It's this simple. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, although you can draw it out in a cartoony flowchart if you like, but you certainly don't have to. But this, I think the flowchart sort of explains it a little bit better. We go from one milestone to the next. What we're trying to do is just get the customer to the next milestone on their own cadence, but we want them to get there as quickly as possible. And for some of the milestones, they're going to have a logical expansion opportunity or upsell opportunity attached to them. Not every success milestone, but some will. And this is how we orchestrate this process, how we orchestrate expansion, how customer success is really a growth lever that you can pull. Is we know a customer is on the right path to achieving their desired outcome. We know that at certain points it makes the most logical next step is for them to buy this add-on, for them to add more seats, for them to bring in other people from or expand our product into other parts of the company, whatever that is. We know that there's a logical point for that. And so instead of trying to strong arm a customer and sell them something they don't need at a time they don't need it, this helps you really, number one, make upsells a lot easier for everybody involved, because we're not trying to shove something on a customer that they don't need. But it also allows you to create a predictable model for what future revenue is going to look like, because you can say, these are where our customers are. This is the success milestone that they're coming up on. They will hit that success milestone this month or this quarter. And this is the value of the upsell that they will most likely take at that point. It's very difficult to model future revenue and take into consideration upsells unless you do something like this, right? So this helps you create a predictable future revenue model, which is very interesting. It also helps you, in a predictable way, create a model for ascension, creating, taking your customers from where they are and growing them. And I'll tell you why this is so powerful. CEO here so I'm in San Francisco right now, and the CEO of a company I was just talking to, a friend of mine, known him for years, is using this model, and he has a land and expand type of business, and he signed a customer for low 5-figure annual contract value. Within the first year, so remember, he signed him at a low 5-figure, so I think in maybe around $20,000 or something like that, 25,000 for the first, an annual contract value. Within the first year, though, that customer had expanded to a low 7-figure customer, because he understood how to build this ascension model, and he knew that the customer was achieving value, achieving these success milestones on an incredible cadence. And he just kept coming in with the next logical thing for them at the right time. If he had said, "Oh, well, I have to wait for 6 months for, every 6 months I'm going to try to upsell this customer," or he had tried to sell them at the wrong time, he could have. I mean, think about if he had waited 6 months, they may have ended the year, maybe doubling, but he certainly wouldn't have had that exponential increase in contract value with that one customer. So this is really powerful stuff. We have to know what goes into, though, this orchestration process. Same thing with advocacy ask, or what I call customer driven growth. When we get customers to tell others about us, whatever that looks like, whether it's in a high touch setting where they're being a reference for us, or a low touch setting where we're having them invite their friends or colleagues into our app, whatever that looks like, there's a logical time to do that, and there's a not so logical time to do that. And if you've ever signed up for a product, and like the second step is invite your address book, like that's the wrong time to do that, right? But you can make a logical ask at certain points, and it's going to be more likely that they actually take it up, and probably not ever asking somebody to invite their entire address book is that's probably never a great idea. So that's it. I mean, in terms of sort of level setting and what customer success is, but I hope you start to see, man, okay, there's some really interesting stuff here around growth. I now understand what customer success is not. We'll go to questions in a second. The workshop pre-work assignment was the desired outcome mapping. I'll make sure that we get that link to everybody. Those of you that are coming to the workshop, please have that completed. It'll just make sure that our time on the day is used wisely. So thanks for spending some time with me today. Let me see if you guys have any questions. Go ahead and type those into the Q&A box. I don't see any. Hopefully I either answered everything you could possibly have, or there's a technical problem. But we'll assume that it's that you guys just I kind of hit you with a lot of new stuff, and there's not a lot here. Okay. So here's one. Traditionally, the sales exec sold into the new prospect and then moved it into account management. But for smaller companies, Should the salespeople stay close to the customer? So here's what I would say to that. If you're a small company and you want to stay a small company, have your sales guys continue to stay with the account. If you want to be a big company, have your sales guys be going out and getting more customers. So that that's not counter to what I said earlier about not being a sales-driven organization. But remember, the reality is we need to get more customers in the front door. But we just can't say that that's the most important thing. So I would have somebody, we could call it account management, whatever, somebody that's on that handles the overall customer life cycle, that sort of takes over there from that point. Now, if you need to have somebody, so let's say an upsell or a renewal still requires a sales cycle, right? It still requires that we go through negotiation and we go through this process, and the CSM or the account manager, whatever, can't just push a button and renew, or push a button and add this thing onto the account. Then you may kick it back to the salesperson to close that deal. If you have the resources, you may want, and the ability to do this, you may want to have a standalone person that's a part of the customer success organization handle renewals and upsells. So still, the original salesperson who's really good at getting new business should be out there getting new business, and we should be handling the customer growth. If you're small and you really can't afford that, then you got to do what you got to do. But there's a difference between what you got to do today and where we want to be tomorrow. So, deal with what you have to deal with today, but let's build a model and a process to get you to the point where you need to be. And that point should be dedicated resources handling renewals and upsells. At the very least, that should be somebody dedicated to the customer lifecycle, and really managing that entire relationship. So, there's not, and I don't even believe that some salespeople are good at one thing. They're good at hunting, they're good at farming or whatever. I don't believe that. I just think you need to have salespeople doing what they do. And we need to have customer success operations, customer success management doing what we do, and that's really driving customers towards that desired outcome, and then driving growth within the account. And it's such a, especially if you get into really complex accounts that need to be treated in a certain way where you're mapping the account and you have a land and expand opportunity, that could really take all the salesperson's time to work accounts like that, and that you would want a dedicated resource for that. All right, cool. So customer success riddle solved. Awesome. All right. So any other questions? I want to make sure that you guys don't leave here with any questions. But obviously, if there are questions, we'll take care of them at the workshop. If you have questions before, I'm sure there's a way for you to get those to me. You can always follow me on Twitter at Lincoln Murphy and ask me there. So I'm going to go ahead and give you guys 7 minutes of your day back. But definitely, thanks for being here. Thanks for having me, and I'll see you, next week, I guess. So see you in Dublin. Thanks so much, everybody.